So on Vanguard Live, my name is Damlola Ogunshaki, and this morning I'm starting with Vanguard on the paper review. Leading with Jonathan to Keyamo, Odinkalu, keep off my political journey. Says, keep off my political journey, I don't need your counsel. Jonathan 100% qualified for raise, says ex-president's cousin. Is being deceived. Fielding Obi will spell doom for PDP. That comes from Wiki. Adds, I won't run for president. Note, El-Rufai's calculation about Tinubu wrong. Nigerians, not APC or PDP, will decide 2027. That's coming from article. You can see that story on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. And here, there's a photo story showing Colombia's vice president comes calling. Now on page 9, childhood cancer. 400,000 children diagnosed annually. That's according to World Health Organization, WHO. Power-hungry politicians seeking to remove Tinubu. That's coming from presidency. Rivers local government poll. Obi Labour Party condemn election. Go to court. RSI EC tells aggrieved parties. You can see that on page 12. On sport, page 31. Nigerians in South Africa mobilized for Super Eagles against Bafana. Above the banner, page 14, empowerment of bandits. Federal government tackles El-Rufai, says claim baseless. Terrorism, federal government, CDS, others hail Ekpa's conviction in Finland. Will take further actions against Ekpa. That's according to Attorney General of Federation, AGF. Our court should expedite hearing of terrorism cases. That's coming from NBA. You can see that on page 11. Away from there, we'll move to the Punch newspaper. Major headline on the Punch says terrorism trial. Federal government may seek Ekpa's repatriation after Finland 6-year jail term. Page 2 as that story. And the writer says government will take further action after judgment review. Attorney General of Federation says. Ruling warning to extremists, that's according to Information Minister. On the page 6, we have 60-year-old man arrested for raping Lagos lady. Oyetola blames a wooden boat as accident claim 92 lives. Top banner, Dangote fuel export surge amid foreign refineries shut down. 2027, PDP obedient tackle Wiki over Jonathan and Obi. And lastly, on the Punch newspaper, we have a $600 million monthly diaspora remittances proof of reforms. You can see that on page 20, and that's coming from the federal government. Lastly, the nation's major headline says Obi's return to run in 2027 will kill PDP, says Wiki. A comeback by him can't happen. Be wary of hypocrites, Minister cautions Jonathan. You can see that story on page 3. Nigeria, Colombia target aviation and trade deals. That story can be seen on page 2. President celebrates a loyal deputy, dependable partner, Shatima, at 59. At the top left corner, we have a federal government hails a 6-year jail term for terrorist Ekpa in Finland. Ex-IG Arase flown back from Morocco in coma. Lastly, on the Nation newspaper, NSA Kaduna government knock El-Rufai over payment to bandit claim. Don't drag national security institutions into partisan conflict. You can see that story on the front page of the Nation, and it continues on page 2. That's all we have on the front pages of the daily this morning. Join me after the break to analyze some of the stories with our guests. Welcome back. If you're just joining me, this is Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki, and joining me to analyze some of the stories on the front pages this morning is Mr. Dayo Akintobi, publisher of Ilipeju Today, Lekki Today, and Ikeja GRA Today. Good morning, Mr. Dayo.
Good morning, Damlola. Good morning to all of you.
Yes, and let's talk about Goodluck Jonathan. Now there are, talks that, former president, that he might, contest for the 2027 presidential election. And we have the likes of Keyamo, San, and Professor Chidi. What do you think about this argument? Do you think he's qualified to run for the 2027 presidential election?
Well, my personal opinion doesn't really matter, but I know that after he left office, there was an amendment passed by the National Assembly that says you can't be sworn in twice. But it is ambiguously worded that the Supreme Court still has to rule on this matter, even though there have been some court challenges already. I think when President Goodluck was going to run in 2015, it was challenged at that time, and there was a court ruling that made him eligible. But there are still some people who say there are issues and there are questions legally that haven't been resolved. I think it revolves around the issue of sworn in twice. When he was sworn in the first time, he was being sworn in to finish Yar'Adua's first term.
Yes.
That was not his term. So the question is, does the law state that if you've been sworn in twice for your own tenure, or if one was for somebody else's tenure? Because that first swearing in was not his tenure. Do you understand? It was Yar'Adua's tenure, and him as his vice just stepped in because of Yar'Adua's demise. But that does not mean it was not Yar'Adua's tenure. He just completed Yar'Adua's tenure. So there's a legal issue. See, the law is an ass. It's always very ambiguous and can be interpreted both different ways. There'll be half of legal scholars who will say, no, he can't be eligible. And there'll be another half who will justify it and say, yes, he is eligible. So at the end of the day, it always comes down to the Supreme Court to interpret. And that's why it's very important for our laws to be written very clearly, very to the point, and in explicit English that cannot be interpreted in multiple ways. As difficult as it is to do, it's not impossible. But that's what gives rise to these kind of questions, whether he's eligible or not. But I think the larger question is, apart from his eligibility, the larger question is, should he run? Even if he's found to be eligible to run, after everything that has happened, should he run? First of all, he's very well regarded internationally. Even in Nigeria, a lot of people believe that he was the one that didn't let Nigeria go up in flames by quickly conceding. He said that the blood of one Nigerian is not worth his political ambition. That has elevated his stature in the eyes of many people. And people think he has, elevated himself to the level of what they call an elder statesperson who should be put on a pedestal and worshipped from a distance. And that he shouldn't sully his well-earned reputation by throwing his hat back into the ring. A lot of people see it as a desecration of that exalted pedestal upon which he sits today. However, having said that, you look at the political dynamics of the day, and people are just trying to see, how can we defeat the incumbents? What are the political strategies? Part of the reason they are pushing for President Goodluck to come. And up to now, he's not confirmed yet, in spite of all the dust, in spite of what Keyamo is saying, what Chidi or by the way, I think Keyamo needs to be a bit more circumspect. That was unsolicited advice. He is a key player in this administration. He should have left that kind of thing for the APC spokesperson, the official APC spokesperson, to make a comment about that. He's a serving minister of the FCT. He has his own portfolio. He's not a party operative. So I think it was out of line for him to make that statement. Odinkalu, on the other hand, as a professor of political thought and all that, probably had a better footing to speak publicly about this. But Keyamo, I think, was out of place to offer an unsolicited remark like that. But let it be noted that President Goodluck has not made a comment. Even the response to Keyamo was by his brother, not by him.
Not by him.
So he has not said anything. So all this is speculation. But I believe it's coming from a groundswell of opposition to the re-election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So I think people are trying to strategize and see what is the best, most assured way of wresting power away from President Tinubu. Now look at the political calculus. It's already agreed, this gentleman agreement of rotation, 8 years north, 8 years south. So it's the South turn. By the end of President Tinubu's first tenure, we would have done 4 years in the South. So there technically should be another 4 years for a Southerner. So that is already giving impetus to the search for a person who can defeat President Tinubu. They are looking for a Southern Christian. So that's why you've heard Peter Obi's name mentioned. That's why you've heard Amechi's name mentioned. And President Goodluck also falls into that category of Southerner and also a Christian. Now, why President Goodluck is an attractive candidate is that if he actually runs, remove the whole South-South vote from the APC, remove majority of the Southeast votes from the APC as well. And President Tinubu already has problems in the North. So the only sure banker for him at that point is Southwest and maybe one or two scattered places in North Central, maybe Northwest. So it alters the political dynamics more than any other candidate. President Goodluck were to throw his hat in the ring, it alters the dynamics. Because apart from those power centers for him, South and Southeast, the other parts of the country that regard him very highly as well, because of his gentlemanly way that he considered the election. And also, a lot of people are remembering that during President Goodluck's tenure, the Nigerian economy was better than it has been under the APC for the last 10 years, 8 years of Buhari, 2 years of Tinubu. So Goodluck was the last PDP president, and under the last, when Goodluck was living in 2015, how much was the dollar? How much was petrol? How much was electricity? All of those things that you look at that make life livable, they were better under Goodluck. That, of course, would be a sign of the time. It could just be timing, maybe just luck of timing. Maybe if you were the one in power today, dollar will still be 1,500 and all, because of dynamics of COVID, dynamics of globalization, dynamics of inflation, global inflation, various factors. But the bottom line is, as long as we look at the records, when Goodluck served, the country was better off economically than it is now. Yeah, there was subsidy theft, there was corruption, there was all kinds of issues, but the common man was eating. The common man could afford to live. So there will be some people even outside the South and outside the Southeast who will look and say, my life was better during the Goodluck Jonathan era. So maybe if we bring him back, maybe my life will improve again. So there will be some people who vote on that sentiment. So strategically, it looks like it's a brilliant move for him to throw his hat in the ring, because he can give Bola Tinubu a run for his money. That's why people are agitating for his candidacy.
Yeah, but now there could be legal challenges if it succeeds. And do you think PDP should ignore this, because there's a possibility that they might not be with a valid candidate if there are legal challenges to this?
Well, that's a risk you have to take. And you remember there were 1 or 2 states that rolled the dice like that and ended up not having a candidate in the election, because at the last minute the courts said those people were ineligible. So it's a risk. But if they do it quickly, like we still have 2 years, remember, the election is still very far away. In fact, a lot of people are not happy that we are being so distracted about matters of 2027 here in 2025, to the detriment of governance. 2027 are so preoccupied our minds that little attention is being paid to governance. So it's still far away. If they are going to do it, they should do it quickly, so that all legal challenges can be addressed way before the election, so that there's no issue of technicality. See, here's the thing: our elections are so bogged down by technicalities that many meritorious candidates are disqualified on technicalities, and many who don't merit it are qualified on technicalities. So what you find out is that the will of the people is actually subverted, because the courts are the ones who are deciding who the candidates are. The courts are the ones who are deciding who the winners are, all on technicality. So I think we need the kind of electoral reform that sees to it that is the will of the people that prevails. I mean, I would like to see a situation whereby if a court rules that an election was fraught with irregularities, or a candidate was ineligible, or whatever the technical reason for it, what I would prefer is a rerun. Let them go back and do it properly and cure all the ills, than for a court to impose a candidate because of a technicality. I think that subverts the will of the people. What then is the purpose of democracy? So look, legal challenges, I would say the PDP needs to get their legal team in place. Let them look at the law and look at it very, very scrupulously. Then, if they're going to do this, do it quickly, so that all the legal challenges can be done in time enough, so that if he's found ineligible, there's still enough opportunity for people like Amechi. There's rumors that Obi maybe wants to go back into the PDP. Although Wike said yesterday, what's he coming to do here? He's not welcome. He's not welcome here. We don't want him. He was maligned PDP and said all kinds of bad things about PDP. How can we now be saying he should come here? So Wike ruled out that possibility. But, I mean, there's still Amechi. There are still 1 or 2 other Southerners who could very well throw their hat in the ring, and who probably will even contest a primary. Although, because if you look at it, I believe Amechi went up against Goodluck even as far back as 2015. So I don't see anything stopping him now. If Goodluck is running, I don't see anything stopping Amechi from contesting against him in the primaries. Although truth be told, Amechi does not belong to the PDP anymore. He most recently was in the APC. He's now in the ADC. So chances are they may not go head to head. If anything, maybe they'll face each other in the general election.
All right, but with both with internal voices, both defending and also discouraging Jonathan's potential return, can the PDP manage a unified front out of the 2027 election, or do you think the battle is already giving the opposition openings?
Well, PDP is in disarray, but they've done one good thing. They've already said their candidate is going to come from the south. So right there, that's the road on the road to unification already, or on the road to a common ground already. Because remember, that was what scattered PDP in 2023, was that the bulk of them, all the PDP governors had agreed that it was going to be a southern candidate that would emerge. Then when Atiku threw his hat in for the primary and won the primary, that alienated Wike, Makinde, Autumn, that G5, that even though they were in the PDP, they didn't support Atiku. They threw their hat behind Bola Tinubu, and it had an effect on why Bola Tinubu won and Atiku lost. So they don't want a repeat of that situation, whereby they will alienate their core base. So they've come together and they've agreed that in keeping with the rotational principle of Nigerian politics, we will zone our presidential ticket to the south, because the south is doing its 8 years now. It's also strategic because they believe that the majority of the country favors that rotational principle, and as a result, anybody who feels a northern candidate now that is the southern's turn will lose some voters. But I'm waiting to see how political scientists will view this, because we had the same opinion about Muslim ticket, that there's a balancing, religious balancing. Just like there's ethnic balancing, there's religious balancing. So people are saying that Muslim ticket can't fly. Well, guess what? It flew. It flew. So how do we know that a northerner coming in during the south turn will not also fly? We don't know. So, but it's all part of political strategy. You have to have calculus. You have to look at how things will fit and how things will play. And I think that's what they're doing. So PDP is a party in trouble at the moment. They're trying to get their act together. There was a solid meeting yesterday evening with 5 or 6 PDP heavyweights, including Wike and some of the ex-governors. And I think they're trying to position PDP in such a way that it will be a true contender in 2027.
All right, let's move away from that and talk about Phoenix Court 6-year sentence of Simon Ekpa and the Chief of Defense Staff CDS General Mustafa's condemnation. Now, CDS described the verdict as a landmark victory in the global fight against terrorism, and they emphasized that there is no safe haven for individuals who incite or fund terrorism, regardless of their location. So how meaningful is this statement?
Well, countries by and large will cooperate when it comes to this issue of terror. They will cooperate with each other. And so those who think they can hide behind the veil of dual citizenship, I belong to another country somewhere, I can go and live there and I can do whatever I want and say whatever I want to say to another country across the border and I will be safe. Well, this case has proven that there's no hiding place for you anywhere in the world. The federal government's position is not just the CDS. The Minister of Information also spoke about it. They are all saying this is a victory for terrorism, it's a victory for Nigeria, that Simon Ekpa said a lot of inciting things and he basically made treasonous comments, and that a lot of the violence in the southeast can be attributed to his activism and his advocacy and his resistance movement. But IPOB, interestingly, has disowned him. I don't know if you noticed that in the news yesterday that greeted the verdict. IPOB said, we've always said all along that this guy is not a leader. We don't know him. We don't recognize him. Independent people of Biafra don't recognize Simon Ekpa. So why you keep alluding to us in his matter? Before those us, because he's not our member, he's not our person, he's not speaking for us. We never appointed him a spokesman. If he has his own agenda for the Southeast, that's him. So don't lump him in with us. So the thing that came out of it for me is the rapidity with which the litigation or the trial was concluded. I think they started in May in terms of the prosecution in Finland. And look, this is September. And they finished 5 months from start to finish, everything. Pre-trial, trial, conviction, sentencing, all done in 5 months. Look at how long Nnamdi Kanu has been there. He's still awaiting trial, I think, or maybe he's in the middle of trial. I don't know. But look at how many years. Justice delayed is justice denied. Look at how many, forget, not just Nnamdi Kanu, how many hundreds, even thousands of inmates are awaiting trial. And they've been there for years and years and years. This is just a rape of human and fundamental civil rights. If especially many of these people are waiting trial, after the trial they are found not guilty. So all those years of their lives have just been wasted. It's just not right. And I don't think anywhere in the world it is found to be acceptable that you be held for so long without trial because you are innocent until proven guilty. So I'm happy that Finland has shown Nigeria an example of how jurisprudence should work. You know, how the fact that you accuse somebody of a crime, they still have certain fundamental rights. And I think Finland has given a good example of how things should be done.
Yeah. Federal government, they've signaled that, once this legal process concludes, that they may request Simon Ekpa's repatriation. So what do you think about this?
Well, what has happened in Finland now really has not delivered retribution or how shall we say, has not delivered restitution to Nigeria, right? Even though Finland convicted him about the incisive statements he made against Nigeria, but they convicted him based on the fact that he did it in their country, so he violated their own laws. So Nigeria is saying the punishment he has been given, that's for Finland. We still want him to come and answer for his crimes here. So after he has finished answering in Finland, he still has to come here and face trial here. That we will not just let Finland punish him for breaking Finland's law and it's over and done with. He broke Nigeria's law too, and he can only answer to breaking Nigeria's law here in Nigeria. So we have to bring him after he finishes those 6 years. I think part of the reason for taking that hard stance, towing that hard line, is to send a message that we won't tolerate this kind of thing. That look, anybody is free to protest. That's constitutionally guaranteed. Anybody is free to air their grievances in legally acceptable ways. But by the time you start going afoul of the law, bordering on treasonable felonies, you'll be made to account for your behavior. I think the government wants to send out a strong signal, especially when you recognize the fact that we're in a state of massive insecurity. And a lot of it is from terroristic activity. It's not the old armed robbers of the old days that, face to face, hand to hand, police can battle them. This is an unseen enemy. It's unseen financial flows that fund this thing. And their methods, are surreptitious. So it's a whole different kind of war. And Nigeria is bang in the middle of a major insecurity experience. So some of the ways to address those issues is that those we catch should be dealt with severely, to send a message to anybody that we don't tolerate this kind of thing. And if we catch you, we may not catch everybody, but the few we catch, God help you. We will so deal with you that you will be begging for your maker. So I think that's part of what this Simon Ekpa, that the government said, we will extradite him and let him come and face. When he's done, in fact, that 6 years he will serve in Finland will be like he's in paradise compared to what he will face when he comes to Nigeria. Can you imagine him going through a judicial process in Nigeria, locked up in Kirikiri or in Kuje for 5 years before he even sees court one day? If he ever comes back to this world, ever, he will go and be a priest somewhere and forget. I never even think about ever trying to break a law or commit any kind of atrocity ever again.
All right, let's move away from that. Now, many Nigerian diplomatic missions abroad, they are reportedly facing months of unpaid rent and financial uncertainty due to, underfunding. What do you think about, this?
This is a blight on our reputation. At a time when the president is going around the whole world trying to burnish our reputation, trying to invite the whole world to come to Nigeria to invest. Nigeria is open for business. Nigeria is a large market. Nigeria is on the upswing. We've got a massive youth population that's enlightened, that's educated, that's tech savvy. So please come to our country, come and see all of the attributes we have. He's going all over the world trying to burnish our image and improve our reputation. And for a report like this to come out, it just rubbishes everything we've been trying to do on the global scene to try and present ourselves as a country to partner with in terms of foreign direct investment and all these other things. If something as simple, something as basic as your financial obligation in another country, you can't meet up to it, rent. What is rent? You, as you are sitting there, you dare not pay your rent. So, and of course, it's not because we don't have the money. It's likely to be negligence. What is rent? How much is rent of a building in Amsterdam or in London or in New York that is going unpaid? I put that problem at the feet of the fact that we don't have ambassadors yet. In this administration's 2 years, ambassadors have not been appointed. Do you think an ambassador with all his stature and his standing in the community of that country is appointed to? Do you think he will sit and be watching and the rent is not paid? Let them come and lock the doors and seal the embassy one day. Ambassador will never sit back. He will harass Ministry of Foreign Affairs every day until they remit the money. Because if you look at it now, how much is the rent? We are giving sports people 100,000 each. By the time you add all the people who have collected $100,000 each, it covers the rent. How much is the rent? By the time you add all, so it's not that the money is not there. It's simply that it has not been prioritized. Oh, we'll get to it when we can. Shebi is US. Shebi is UK. They are our people now. Don't worry about it. Did they send us a reminder? Okay, tell them, keep in view. You say right on the keep in view. We will pay when it's convenient. So it's not a lack of funding. It's a lack of proper administrative process, a lack of proper prioritization. And I put that at the feet of the fact that we don't have ambassadors, which is a shame. I think because this government has dropped the ball on that. And probably part of the reason is because ambassadorial appointments have become political patronage. They usually use it to reward people who supported during the election. So my suspicion is that this government has more people that it owes political patronage than it has positions available. How many countries of the world are there that you can send ambassadors to? Maybe 200, 250, if that. So perhaps it was 1,000 people who are writing and agitating for ambassadorial positions. So how do you now share 250 if there are 1,000 contenders? So that may be what's causing the logjam, is to be able to cherry pick. We don't want to offend certain people. Remember, 2027 is around the corner. So if we don't pick this person, we may lose this particular block of voters. If we don't choose. Somebody was on one of the TV stations yesterday, a former senator from Zamfara, APC, who said he's away from the APC, is not supporting President Bola Tinubu for 2027, despite the role they played in 2023 to deliver votes to. In fact, he swore that a minimum of 1 million votes he will move away from the president in 2027. And when the anchor asked him, but why? Why the anger? Why the vitriol? He said, because he did not give us what they promised when we supported him. And I was saying, what? The ministerial position? I said, it doesn't matter. Whether ministerial, whether ambassadorial, whether project, whatever. He didn't deliver. What are we supporting him for if we don't get something in return? So that's Nigerian politics for you. Quid pro quo. Do for me, I do for you. So if I do for you and you don't do back for me, there will be repercussions. So maybe that's what's still making the government not appoint ambassadors yet. They are trying to see how do we share these few positions among so many people who work for us that we owe. It's not an enviable position. I don't envy them.
All right, but do you think Nigeria should consider, getting property abroad as part of a strategic investment?
Interesting. Well, yeah. My preference would be to always lease property, because in other people's country, your assets can never be safe. They can nationalize foreign assets any day, anywhere, anyhow. Nigeria did it in the 60s and 70s when we took over British Petroleum, their assets, and turned it to African Petroleum overnight. And Britain lost everything that they owned in that country, in this country. I'll give you an example. There's a particular race or country in Nigeria. They're from Asia. They work here, plenty of them, plenty, especially in engineering, the sciences, technology. I don't want to mention the country, but there are plenty of them in Nigeria. Anybody who's watching the show will know what I'm talking about. There are plenty. They don't own one single building block. They don't own. Everywhere they occupy in this country, they lease or they rent. They don't own. Because they know they are here for a purpose and they will leave one day. And when they are leaving, they don't want to have to leave anything behind. They protect their assets. So I kind of agree with that school of thought that no, if we are going to invest in overseas, maybe it should not be in property, maybe things like treasury bills, bonds. If we are looking to maximize our foreign reserve, I think our foreign reserve is held in cash in dollars. So it's probably at the Federal Reserve of the US or someplace like that where it's secure, probably backed by government securities, So it's good for foreign reserve to be in liquid form. But other than that, I don't think our government should invest our money. Remember, it's our money. That money you'll be using to go and buy property in the UK, you can use it to build 200 schools here in Nigeria that will serve Nigerian people. So let us rent and let us pay our rent as and when due. It's an obligation. That's the honorable thing to do. That's what makes people know you're a person of integrity. If you can't meet up with something, or if you refuse to meet up with a financial obligation as basic as your rent, what will you do on our joint venture agreements on oil and gas? Will you renege when it comes time for us to share the profits? Will you keep your own end of the bargain? If I can't trust you with something as simple, a financial obligation, if you can't meet up to your responsibility as a partner, because if you are leasing a building in another country, you are a joint venture with the people now. And if you can't meet up your own end by making your payments as and when due, how can I trust you with bigger things? How can I trust you with more complicated, more expensive things if you won't attend to? So it doesn't send a good message at all.
All right, sir. Let's send this on a lighter note to Mr. and Mrs. this morning. The first person speaking is Mr. Mr. says, a man with one wife finds life hard. Men with multiple wives and mistresses, on the other hand, exist and exist well. While Mrs. replied, go and check. They are not existing. They are exiting gradually.
Because the stress of one wife is enough to the point that by the time you take 2, 3, 4, I don't know how our forefathers coped with it.
They tried.
They tried though. My own grandfather had 4, and I keep looking at that man, small tiny man. How did you cope? Me, one alone, one I have gray hair already. From one. How old am I that my whole hair is white already? From 1. Imagine now 3, 4. So I support Mrs. on this one. You are exiting slowly. And that's why if you look at it, men die before women. Mostly, if you look around, it's widows. You don't see many widowers. Mostly. Because the stress a man carries is plenty. Rent, school fees, this, that. And then now, wife wahala. Monthly cost of monthly pepper soup. Then you just want to watch your football match on Saturday. JJ, she's coming with wahala. I support Mrs. One wife. Only one wife. No more. One wife only.
Wow. Thank you for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
I want to Mr. Dayo Akintobi, publisher of Village Page Today, Lekki Today, and Ikeja GRA Today. And he just analyzed some of the stories on the front pages with us this morning. Now, do want to like and follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. You can also visit our website, www.vanguard.ng.